Made with Love by Integral.
So hi everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be talking to Aya Khalil. She's a award-winning author, freelance journalist, and has a master's degree in education and teaching English as a second language. And we're here to talk about her journey as an author. So welcome, Aya. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
So, Aya, can you tell us a little bit about one? Let's start with your childhood. What was that like for you? Because a lot from what I can tell about your books, a lot of it has been influenced by your own cultural experiences as a child. So, do you want to tell us what childhood was like for you?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Egypt. I immigrated with my mom and dad and my brother when I was 1.5. So we immigrated to the United States. We moved around a lot. So we lived in New Jersey for a little bit, and then we moved to North Dakota, which is up north. It was a very cold state. And then we settled in the Midwest. So that's what I call home. I moved a few times after that as an adult, but that is home. That's where I live right now in Ohio. Yeah, my childhood was good. I mean, I was obviously again like an Egyptian Muslim. Most of the schools that I attended, I was a minority. So me and my brother growing up in especially in North Dakota and Ohio in those early years, we were like the only Muslims in the school. So that was quite an experience. We, of course, we faced challenges, but also I think we learned a lot of things. We just learned a lot about ourselves and our parents. Just they always taught us, hey, be proud of who you are. They really didn't do too much assimilation. So I'm really grateful for that. They always taught us Arabic. They were really proud of their culture and language. They took us to Egypt every single year. So there was not a year that went by where we didn't go there. And I'm so grateful for that because we always looked forward to going to Egypt, where we spent the whole summer with our cousins and our aunts and our uncles and our grandparents. So I think that really helped us just really, really love our culture and our heritage so much. And I'm really grateful for that because we're still bilingual. So we speak fluent Arabic until this day. And I have my own kids now, and I don't know if they're fluent or not in Arabic. I would say partially fluent. At least the older one is fluent in Arabic, and then we try our best with the younger ones. So yeah, I try to incorporate these things in my books, like language, the culture, so like intergenerational um relationships, food. I always have food in my books. So I try to have all of those stuff that really growing up I experienced. I try to have those in my books.
So a lot of your books are about almost like sharing your culture. You're sharing a perspective that you were privileged to have in some way. Is that something, when you look back at your childhood or you look back at your adulthood, is that something that were you able to do that easily? Was it because it was such a big part of who you were and who your family was? And like you said, you were traveling to Egypt every year, you were meeting your cousins. So there was your cultural heritage, you were so rooted in it. Was that something that you found it easy to share with your friends, in class or otherwise?
I think it was, which teachers played an important role in that. So I had teachers who really wanted me to share that, and I talked a little bit about that before, like with my debut book, The Arabic Quilt. That's based on a teacher that I had in third grade. And she really encouraged me to share like the language and culture in the classroom, and my book is based on that. Yeah, elementary school, I felt, yeah, I really didn't mind at all talking about my culture and my language. Middle school, you know, is a little bit different. And I think with all middle schoolers, you kind of want to just like fit in.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that part. But yeah, when I was younger, I really enjoyed, I was teaching like my friends Arabic words and and the food. But I do like to see it also with my own kids because now my kids, they're elementary school and they'll tell me, yeah, I taught my friends Arabic words and um they love it and I like to experience that
Yeah.
myself now as an adult through them. Yeah, I won a few awards and I was really surprised because it not only it took a long time to sell, um so we were giving up on it. I thought I was gonna give up on it. And also it came out like right before the pandemic. It was like it came in February 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And then so I canceled like so many events, and so there wasn't really that much exposure. Yeah, but I'm very grateful that it won a few honors and awards, and there's a few of the honors and awards on here, and there's a few more, but I don't have it on.
You're a pioneer almost, and you're leading the way in terms of amplifying voices out there and amplifying those stories. Is that something that you felt a little overwhelmed by at any point?
Yeah, what a great question. I never really thought about it that much, but yeah, because Arabs are so underrepresented in this industry. We're less than 0.5%. And this was based in 2020, so we were less than 0.5%. It might be just a tiny bit more, but that was like, I think the data said there was only like 17 books that were written by Arabs or with Arab characters, and that was even questionable in 2020. So just imagine like 17 to 20 books in like thousands of books, like tens of thousands of books that are published a year in the literature. So that was ridiculous. So this was like one of the books in 2020 that was published. And I was a little bit nervous. I was like, you know what? I was a little bit nervous, of course, when it published. Like, how are people gonna accept it? Are people gonna accept it or no? Is my community gonna accept it? I mean, I'm really, really grateful though that it was accepted by the community. I'm always getting messages from like parents and educators how their kids and their students could relate to it, even if their kids are not immigrants, because like my kids are not immigrants, but there's still elements in the book that they could relate to, like, you know, like their food or their language. Even other kids who just speak different languages, who are bilingual or trilingual, they could relate to it. So I think it's so universal also. There's friendship in there, there's bullying. So there's so much that I think any kid could really relate to. And so I'm just really grateful for that. So I think there was some negative things. It was also on a banned list in 2021. It was just really ridiculous when just the district banned a bunch of diverse books. And so that was just one thing that it was unexpected, I guess. Yeah, but that was not fun. But I was able to write another book because of that. So
And
I'm yeah, I'm glad that at least I'm still able to continue to tell stories.
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that while it's disheartening, it also reinforces why we need these books.
Yeah.
It's the conversations that these books create, the opportunities for conversations that these books create, that is a reason why, you know, there is pushback or people don't want to have these conversations, right? Because but the reality is that we are living in a diverse world, and the more we have books like these that promote conversations, that get kids to ask, oh, you know, do you do this, or we do this too, or, you know, to have that
Yes.
comparing and contrasting, and to kind of that celebration of each other's identity, right? And to understand that we're all a mix of everybody and everything that we come into contact with. Do you feel that the book that you've written has made a tangible difference in the lives of children or adults who are reading the book in being able to share their culture with their peers, with people who don't necessarily celebrate Eid?
Okay. Yes, I do. I really think so because there's so much in this book that people, kids and adults can learn. It's not even like really religious in nature. There are books that are that'll talk a little bit more about like the religious aspect, but this is more of like a cultural story, and I talk a little bit more of the tradition and the history of the Eid cookies, and they're called kak. And they're used in a lot of different countries too, not just Egypt. So there's so much information in there, and I think a lot of kids and parents and educators, they do read it and they tell me, "Oh, that's really cool. I did not even know about that." Even Muslims themselves, because we're so diverse, they will read it and be like, "Oh, we had no idea that these cookies are so old." They're from the ancient Egyptians times. And I have like a few pages in the back. I have a lot of back matter because I write a lot. I always write so much, so many words, so I have to always put it in the back matter. But I have things like celebrating Eid, the history and tradition, and then I talk about what is Eid, and then the timeline. So this goes back into the history, how it goes back um, between 1539 and 1292 BCE, and how there was a recipe for kak that was found in one of the pyramids. And then I talk a little bit about my experience growing up celebrating Eid, because again, it was so different back then. When I lived in North Dakota, there was just me and a few other people who would get together, families, and celebrate Eid. So I really think kids who don't celebrate Eid will learn a lot about this, and they do, because I get comments and emails about it. And when I go talk to kids about it, also in the classrooms, and kids can relate to it too. And I ask them, "Hey, what traditions do you have? What traditions do you celebrate with your families in your holidays?" And they share with me, like, "Yeah, we bake cookies with our families too." So again, it's universal. And I love that. And I love that Muslim kids, they just get so excited because when I read this in their classrooms, they're like, "Yeah, it's Eid, it's it's Eid, we celebrate Eid too." So it's just really exciting to have that positive representation.
Absolutely. And the thing is that the more we talk about the different cultures and the festivals and the celebrations and things like that, and kids, I really do think that kids have the power of being able to really kind of like absorb and retain information. To give you a small anecdote, so my son, has a friend who celebrates Eid, and he was fasting for the whole month before, and my son, every afternoon during the lunch break, because obviously all the other kids are still eating, the children who are not fasting, and my son, because he's read about it, he's understood the concept and things like that. Every afternoon he would go up to his friend and he'd be like, that the cafeteria food is not that great, so you're not missing
Aww.
anything. and
That's so
and this
sweet.
and this is it, right? It's
Yeah.
about that little show of solidarity, that little show of
Yeah.
support, right?
Yeah.
We're not saying that you have to necessarily join in and do exactly what I do, but the sense of inclusivity, the sense of
Yeah.
I get you, I understand you, I know where you're coming from, I know what your context is. And I think
Right.
that's what we're trying to do with all of our conversations, with our books. We want for children to actually see each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just really grateful because then, yeah, so a kid will read that, and they will understand that a child is fasting, and they'll be like, "Okay, cool. Like it's no big deal." But again, I know if people don't know what Ramadan is and what Eid is, they will tease kids about it. Be like, "Oh, hey, do you want to?" Like I remember when I was growing up, like people would tease me, like, "Hey, do you want a piece of my pizza? It tastes so good." And that's kind of mean for like a little kid who's fasting and their friend to say that. So yeah, so again, your son, that's a great example. So he's that's the kind thing to say to to his fasting friend. So yeah, I think books plays a great role in that to create that empathy and solidarity.
Yep. Thank you. And your book, like we talked about, is a great example of being able to share that. So for those of you who are watching, if you're looking to kind of find a way to either talk to your children about Eid, or talk to, share the festival with friends and family, then the Night Before Eid is a great book. It's written by Aya Khalil, as we just talked about. And I want to thank you so much, Aya, for joining us for this conversation. Where can is your book available in all bookstores? I know that we would like to support as many local bookstores as we can. So
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was such a great conversation. Yeah, available wherever books are sold. So anywhere where books are sold, check your bookstores, online wherever books are sold. Type it in the night before Eid and it'll pop up. It'll pop up. And I hope people like it. I'm currently writing a book about Ramadan. So
oh,
I love writing um holiday books because I never saw those books when I was little, especially.
we're looking eagerly awaiting that one. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you
much for
so much.
joining, Zena.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Visit us at integralkids.com for more.